What's up guys, Eli here, back for another new stuff video. I'm going to focus on more 2023 releases today. That's all I have, but I got a decent stack, so let's see what I got. Now, as I've rambled on before, the last 5 years or so, I've just become kind of, I don't want to say disillusioned, but I felt less motivated to try and keep up with everything that comes out in the underground, and there's just too much stuff. And at one point it started to feel like a chore, and I kind of got tired of it. So I'm just not buying a ton of new releases every year these days. And I'm still always going to pick stuff up, but I don't know how you guys feel. And I've rambled on about this before already, so I won't dwell on it. But I'm more focusing on picking up like old releases that I just never had the chance to get. But that's neither here nor there. Today we're talking about 2023 releases, starting with Voivod with the this compilation called Morgoth Tales. Now, I've heard this is really good. It's not a new album per se. It is an album full of re-recorded old Voivod songs with one bonus track. So there's one new song here. I pretty much bought this for that. But I've heard these re-recorded songs are actually really good. They even got Jason Newsted to come in and play bass on one of the songs, and they got their old singer Eric Forrest to sing on one of his songs as well. So Morgoth Tales, Voivod, I love Voivod. Everything they put out I'm most likely going to buy, so had to have it. Then we have the newest Yes album with Mirror to the Sky. I have had a chance to listen to this one time, and I gotta say, I know Yes has been kind of questionable, this last decade or so. I dig this album. Again, only one listen, but I quite enjoyed it. What if the conclusion I've come to with modern day Yes, like these last 3 albums or so, it doesn't so much sound like Yes to me, but it sounds like a Yes inspired band. What I hear, I don't know. When I listen to the last 3 albums, in my mind I'm not listening to Yes. In my mind I'm just listening to a different band, and I think for that reason I've been able to enjoy them. That said, though, I do think Mirror to the Sky is the better of the last 3 albums. Now, I know a lot of people are saying it's pretty good, it's nowhere near great, and they're probably not wrong, but I think it's pretty good, and I definitely look forward to giving it more listens. So, Mirror to the Sky from Yes. Then from Toronto, Canada, we have the 5th full-length album from Blood Ceremony. I've always liked this band. If you don't really know anything about Blood Ceremony, came out on Rise Above Records, by the way, they kind of came out in that mid-2000s or 2010s boom of occult rock. When bands like Ghost came out, The Devil's Blood, Jess and the Ancient Ones, a bunch of others. What's that? There's another band that I was trying to think of. But so Blood Ceremony came out, in that wave of bands, and they kind of set themselves apart by having a little bit of a different sound. Their singer, for example, plays flute, so it kind of gives it a little bit of that earthy, Jethro Tull type sound. And I remember when I first heard that, I was like, oh, they're adding a flute. What a gimmick, but it really does work, and I don't think it's a gimmick. I think they did it just because they probably like Jethro Tull, or anyways, Blood Ceremony is great. If you like that occult rock, all those bands I just named, I haven't heard this new album just yet, but I really have liked everything they've done so far. Then we've got the newest live album from Cradle of Filth. It's a double live album, Trouble and Their Double Lives. Right? Yeah, Trouble and Their Double Lives. Now, I have a number of live albums from Cradle of Filth from throughout the years, and I probably wouldn't have bought this if it were just another live album, but it has 2 exclusive tracks, so of course I had to get it for those 2 tracks. And I gotta say, So we got She Is a Fire and we have Demon Prince Regent, and they're really good songs. They honestly they sound like classic Cradle of Filth, that mid '90s era that we all know and love. They've kind of been back to that sound from the last two albums. So if you like the last two albums, I think you're really gonna like these two songs. They're really good. I haven't heard the live tracks yet, but I've heard the bonus songs a number of times, and they're great songs, to be honest. Then from Germany, we have the third full-length album from Adversum. Now, Adversum, this came out of Moribund Records, by the way. They used to be signed to Iron Bonehead Records. Adversum play a funeral doom with touches of death metal as well. I mean, you're probably thinking, isn't that what funeral doom always is? I don't like a ton of funeral doom. For me, it's just too plodding, too slow. But what I like about Adversum is to break up the monotony. With the funeral doom sections, they'll have like they'll just like break out into just death metal sections. So for me, with the tempo changes and everything, keeps me much more interested. And honestly, this is really good, really, really, really good atmospheric kind of doom death. I almost hesitate to call it funeral doom just because of all the death metal sections that you hear in this. But it's very atmospheric. It's very mystical sounding. This is awesome. This is top 10 of the year material for me. I think it's easily going to crack into my top 5, to be honest. So has anyone else heard Adversum? Awesome stuff. Then from Australia, we have the fourth full-length album from Impetuous Ritual via Profound Lore Records. They have put out all their stuff, actually. I love how every Impetuous Ritual album cover is like just a different color. Like, the first one was like blue, and then they had a green one, and then they had a brown one. Now it's yellow. I just like it. I think it's cool. If you haven't ever heard Impetuous Ritual, they play just a really off-kilter, barbaric death metal. They're known for having 2 members of Portal among their ranks, and so there are some Portal similarities, but it's like Portal, heading more towards standard death metal. But that said, there's not a lot of standard death metal to be found here, but it's unique. It's just absolutely savage, and I like it a lot. From Iceland, we have the debut full-length from Ulfud, Ulfud, if you're wondering how the hell what the hell I just said. What is this called? Of Existential Distortion. By the way, I've been really bad about saying the album name. Sorry about that. This came out on Dark Descent Records. What we have here, I've only listened a little bit so far, but we have melodic death metal with some black metal influences. And it's really, really, really good. They kind of have their own sound. When I say melodic death metal, they don't necessarily just sound like, a lot of the time when you hear melodic death metal, your mind just kind of instantly jumps to, early to mid-90s Sweden. And I think maybe there is a little bit of that in there, but not a ton. Ulfud have their own sound. The guys that are in the band have been in a lot of those cool, black metal bands that Iceland has been cranking out the last, 8 or 9 years. And if you like melodic death metal, I think you should jump on this. It's really good. And from 20 Buck Spin, third full-length album from the US is Uthar. It's a band with dudes just kind of all over the Northwest. I've heard most of their stuff at this point. They actually had 2 albums this year, not just 1, but 2. They had this album, which is Anthronomicon, which is more of a straightforward Uthar album, and then they put out another one that's like more experimental and crazy, and I actually kind of want to get that one too. They use a lot of like Lovecraftian elements in their songwriting. Music-wise, it's black death metal. To me, it just kind of sounds like more of the same. I've heard most of their stuff, and I'm not hearing a whole lot different than from what I heard on the last album. That's not a criticism necessarily, but if you're looking for a band that maybe has more variation from album to album, I'm not really hearing that in Uthar. I think if you're wanting that, you might want to get their other album from this year instead of this one. Like I said, this to me this just kind of sounds like more of the same from the last album. But it's good black death metal regardless. I'm not trying to take away from the quality whatsoever. Then from the US, we have the 13th full-length album from one of my favorite power metal bands, Camelot. This came out on Napalm Records. This is the fourth album with singer Tommy Karavik. Now, one of my favorite power metal bands, yes, but I have had problems with them for the last almost 10 years or so. They just have been kind of, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions, a lot of Camelot fans' opinions, is they've just kind of been treading the same ground album after album, and they just aren't bringing that same quality that they did for the first, 3/4 of their career. Now, I have listened to this album one time. This is called The Awakening, and I did like it. I don't know if anything necessarily blew me away. I did like it. And I've liked the last three albums. I have liked them, but they're just, by the time you get done listening, you're just kind of left wanting more, and not more of the album, but you're left wanting more because that the band can do better. So you're left wanting that quality that they delivered in the earlier to mid 2000s. That said, I'm going to give this more listens for sure. I'm hoping it'll be a grower and I'll like it more and more, and maybe it'll make my top 10 this year. I'm not sure yet. It is, again, when it comes to power metal, I love this band, and they're absolutely one of my favorites. They just have been kind of in a rut for the last 3 or 4 albums or so. I think the last 3 is fair to say. So. Anyways, guys, what do you think? Have you heard any of these albums? Did you buy any of them? Do you plan on buying any of them? Let me know. We'll talk about it. Anyways, I'm out of here. Louis says hello. He's chilling right there. We'll talk soon, huh? Cheers.